The quantum sensors at CERN detected them first. Dr. Sarah Chen was analyzing data from the latest particle collision experiment when her screens erupted with impossible readings. The fabric of space-time itself seemed to ripple as thousands of objects emerged from what could only be described as tears in reality. "Director Muller," she called out, her voice steady despite the trembling in her hands. "I think you need to see this." Within hours, every major observatory and space agency confirmed the same thing. A vast fleet of ships had appeared at the edge of our solar system, moving with impossible precision through the Kuiper Belt. They weren't trying to hide. If anything, their formation seemed designed to be seen, a show of force that made humanity's greatest achievements look like child's play. The ships were massive, each one larger than Manhattan, their hulls shifting with patterns of light that defied physics. They moved like schools of fish through space, their coordination suggesting a level of technology centuries beyond anything Earth had achieved. The first transmission came 3 days later, broadcast simultaneously on every frequency, in every language. The being that appeared on screens worldwide had an almost beautiful symmetry to its features. 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, skin that seemed to shimmer with bioluminescence, and a voice that carried undertones of music. "People of Earth, we are the Nexus Collective. Your species has been observed, evaluated, and found worthy of elevation. We offer you integration into our grand alliance of civilizations. Your primitive conflicts will end. Your diseases will be cured. Your technology will advance centuries within decades. All we require is your complete submission to collective governance." The world's leaders gathered in an emergency UN session, their faces grim as they watched the alien ships take up positions around Earth. Military satellites went dark one by one, disabled without a single shot fired. The message was clear: resistance was futile. But something unexpected happened in those first crucial days. Instead of panic, humanity showed remarkable resilience. Underground networks formed across the globe. Using old radio equipment and primitive internet protocols the aliens couldn't easily monitor. Scientists shared data through encrypted channels, piecing together information about the invaders. Dr. Chen noticed it first, a pattern in the quantum fluctuations surrounding the alien ships. Every time they used their advanced technology, there was a microscopic disturbance in local spacetime, like ripples in a pond. It wasn't much, but it was consistent. "Their technology isn't magic," she explained to a secret committee of scientists and military leaders. "It's based on principles we're just beginning to understand. They're manipulating quantum fields on a massive scale, but there's a pattern to it. And patterns can be predicted and disrupted." 7 days after their arrival, the collective's ambassador delivered their ultimatum to the UN Security Council. "You have 24 hours to submit your formal surrender. After that, we will begin the process of forced integration. Those who resist will not survive the transition." In underground bunkers and hidden laboratories, humanity prepared its response. Dr. Chen worked through the night, refining her calculations. Military leaders coordinated through secure channels. Civilian tech experts wrote code that would be needed for just one chance at victory. The aliens had made one crucial mistake. They had assumed that because humanity's technology was primitive, humans themselves were primitive. They hadn't counted on human ingenuity, on our ability to innovate and adapt. They hadn't realized that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in our weapons or our machines, but in our determination to remain free. As the deadline approached, the collective's ambassador stood before the UN once more, expecting to receive Earth's surrender. Instead, they received a single word that would change the course of human history, a word that would be remembered for generations to come. The next 24 hours would determine whether that word represented humanity's greatest triumph or its final defiance. But one thing was certain. The Nexus Collective was about to learn why you should never underestimate the human spirit. In the depths of CERN's underground facility, Dr. Chen's discovery sparked a revolution in human understanding. The quantum disturbances created by the collected ships weren't just anomalies. They were opportunities. Each ripple in space-time left a signature, a pattern that could be analyzed and potentially exploited. Captain Maya Rodriguez of the International Space Station had noticed something else. The collected ships maintained strict formations, moving in perfect synchronization. At first, it seemed like a display of their superior technology. They're not just showing off. She transmitted through a makeshift communications array built from modified ham radio equipment. Their ships have to maintain these formations, the quantum field distortions Dr. Chen detected. They're strongest when the ships move in sync, break the formation, and we might disrupt their entire technology. The revelation spread through the resistance network like wildfire. In hidden labs across the globe, scientists worked around the clock, building on Dr. Chen's discovery. They called it Project Pebble, because sometimes the smallest stone can create the largest ripples. Dr. James Okoro, a quantum computing specialist in Lagos, made the next breakthrough. His team had been analyzing the collective's communication patterns when they noticed something extraordinary. The aliens weren't just using quantum entanglement for faster-than-light communication. They were dependent on it. Their entire civilization is built on quantum coherence, Dr. Okoro explained during a secure video conference. Their ships, their weapons, even their biological enhancements, everything relies on maintaining perfect quantum states across vast distances. It's brilliant, but it's also their weakness. In Tokyo, teenage hacker Yuki Tanaka discovered that the collective's control over Earth's satellites had a blind spot. Every 67 minutes, there was a 3-second window when their quantum network realigned. It wasn't much, but it was enough to send bursts of data through their defenses. The resistance grew stronger, more organized. Former rivals became allies, sharing resources and knowledge. Chinese quantum physicists collaborated with American engineers. Russian cybersecurity experts worked alongside British cryptographers. The common threat had united humanity in ways no one had thought possible. But the collective wasn't idle. Their ships began systematic sweeps of major cities, using advanced sensors to search for signs of resistance. They were particularly interested in unusual quantum signatures, a sign that Dr. Chen's discovery had not gone unnoticed. The pressure to act grew with each passing hour. The collective had begun their forced integration process in several smaller nations, transforming human infrastructure with their advanced technology. But reports from these areas were troubling. The changes weren't just technological. They were rewriting human society itself, erasing cultures and replacing them with cold efficiency. In her underground lab, Dr. Chen worked on the final calculations for Project Pebble. The math was solid, but the scale was daunting. To disrupt the collective's quantum network, they would need to create a synchronized pulse from thousands of locations simultaneously. One mistake, 1 millisecond of poor timing, and the plan would fail. The resistance had to move quickly. The collective was learning, adapting to Earth's defenses faster than anyone had anticipated. They had already detected and destroyed several resistance communication hubs. It was only a matter of time before they discovered the full scope of Project Pebble. Captain Rodriguez provided the final piece of the puzzle. From her vantage point on the ISS, she had mapped the collective's patrol patterns in detail. There would be a moment, just one moment, when their ships would be in perfect alignment for their regular quantum network synchronization. If we're going to act, she transmitted during what would be her final communication, it has to be during the next alignment. After that, they'll have mapped enough of Earth's quantum signature to detect our preparations. The countdown began. Resistance cells worldwide prepared their quantum pulse generators, devices cobbled together from modified particle accelerators, experimental quantum computers, and even repurposed medical imaging equipment. Each generator alone was harmless. Together, they would create a disruption in space-time that would shake the collective to its foundations. As the hour approached, Dr. Chen made one final check of her calculations. The fate of humanity would rest on the accuracy of her numbers, on the precision of their timing, and on the courage of thousands of resistance fighters waiting for the signal. The collective had demanded humanity's surrender. In less than 6 hours, they would receive their answer, not in words, but in action. The question was, would it be enough to break their hold on Earth, or would it simply hasten humanity's extinction? Admiral Helena Santos stood in the command center of the Brazilian submarine Amazonas, studying tactical displays showing collective ship positions. Unlike surface vessels, which the aliens had easily neutralized, submarines worldwide had maintained their freedom of movement. The ocean's depths provided natural shielding against the collective's quantum detection systems. "All stations report ready," her XO reported quietly. Similar scenes played out in submarines and underground bases across the globe. Operation Silent Thunder was about to begin. The plan was audacious. Dr. Chen's quantum pulse generators would be useless without perfect synchronization, and the collective controlled all satellite networks. The solution came from an unexpected source: the planet's oceans. Submarines from 24 nations had positioned themselves at strategic points, creating a makeshift underwater communication network using extremely low-frequency waves. In Moscow's metro tunnels, now converted into a resistance command center, Colonel Dmitry Volkov coordinated with civilian tech experts. They had discovered that old Soviet-era equipment, hardened against EMP attacks, was surprisingly effective at resisting collective interference. "The older technology has an advantage," explained Aisha Patel, a quantum computing specialist from Mumbai. "Its very simplicity makes it harder for them to detect and control. Sometimes primitive is better." In orbit, Captain Rodriguez had made her final preparations. The ISS crew had secretly modified their station's systems, turning the entire structure into what would effectively become the world's largest quantum pulse generator. It was a one-way mission. The pulse would destroy the station's electronics, but it would provide the crucial high-altitude component needed for Project Pebble's success. The Resistance's greatest challenge wasn't technical, but human. The operation required thousands of people worldwide to act in perfect coordination. A single mistake, one team acting too early or too late, would doom the entire plan. The collective's quantum network could only be disrupted if every pulse generator activated within a millisecond of each other. Dr. Chen had found an elegant solution. Her team reprogrammed seismic monitoring stations worldwide to act as synchronization points. The Earth's own geological activity would provide the timing signal, something the collective couldn't detect or interfere with. As the operation's launch time approached, humanity held its breath. In hidden bunkers and secret laboratories, resistance members made their final preparations. They had one chance: the next time the collective's ships aligned for quantum network synchronization. The collective remained oblivious to the scale of human resistance. Their arrogance had led them to dismiss human technology as primitive, human cooperation as impossible. They didn't understand that humanity's greatest strength lay not in our advanced technology, but in our ability to adapt, to improvise, to work together in the face of overwhelming odds. Dr. Okuro's team in Lagos had completed their final simulations. The quantum disruption would have an unexpected side effect. It would temporarily reveal the true nature of the collective's technology. For a brief moment, humanity would be able to see exactly how their supposedly advanced civilization functioned. Underground in Beijing, a team led by Dr. Lai Wei had made a startling discovery. The quantum signatures from the collected ships showed patterns similar to those found in human brainwave activity. It suggested their entire civilization might be linked in ways they hadn't revealed, and disrupting that link could have far-reaching consequences. Admiral Santos received the final confirmation signals. Submarine crews worldwide reported ready. The resistance network hummed with quiet activity as thousands of teams ran through their final checks. In orbit, Captain Rodriguez and her crew made peace with their fate. Dr. Chen stood in her lab, watching the quantum field monitors. The collected ships were beginning their alignment maneuver. In less than an hour, they would achieve the perfect formation needed for their network synchronization. At that moment, Humanity would reveal that their primitive species had mastered principles the collective thought beyond our understanding. The countdown began. Across the globe, resistance members took their positions. The quantum pulse generators powered up, their energy signatures masked by the background radiation of Earth's own magnetic field. In the depths of the oceans, submarines maintained their silent vigil, ready to transmit the activation signal. Humanity's response to the collective's ultimatum was about to be delivered. It would either be remembered as the moment humanity proved its worth among the stars, or as the last defiant act of a species that refused to submit. The only question remaining was, what would the collective do when they realized their primitive opponents had outmaneuvered them at their own game? The collected ships hung in perfect formation above Earth, their hulls shimmering with quantum energy as they prepared for their regular network synchronization. In their arrogance, they had made their pattern predictable, never imagining that a primitive species could exploit it. Admiral Santos watched the countdown on her tactical display. The Resistance's timing had to be perfect. Early warnings had already come in. The collective had detected unusual energy signatures from several major cities. They were beginning to suspect something, but they had no idea of the scale. All stations, final check, she transmitted through the underwater network. Around the world, submarine crews acknowledged, their antiquated systems proving invisible to the collective's advanced sensors. In orbit, Captain Rodriguez and her ISS crew completed their modifications. The space station's solar panels had been realigned, transformed into a massive quantum antenna. Ground control, she transmitted using the Resistance's coded frequency. ASS is ready. It's been an honor. Dr. Chen stood in her underground lab, surrounded by screens showing quantum field readings from around the globe. The patterns were aligning exactly as predicted. Send the initialization sequence, she ordered. Through the seismic network, a signal rippled through the Earth's crust, reaching every resistance cell simultaneously. The collected ships reached their synchronization point. For a fraction of a second, their quantum network would be at its most vulnerable as they realigned their fields. In that moment, humanity struck. Thousands of quantum pulse generators activated simultaneously. From submarines in the depths to hidden bunkers on land. From mountaintop observatories to the ISS in orbit, humanity's weapons fired as one. The effect was instantaneous and devastating. The quantum disruption spread like a shockwave through space. The collective's beautiful formations shattered as their ships suddenly lost their quantum coherence. Their seemingly solid hulls flickered, revealing the truth of their construction. They weren't ships at all, but massive quantum projections, maintained by technology that suddenly failed them. In orbit, the ISS's final transmission caught the moment their pulse struck the collective's flagship. The massive vessel's quantum field collapsed, revealing a much smaller craft within. Advanced, but nowhere near as godlike as they had presented themselves. But the collective wasn't defeated yet. Secondary systems engaged, and their ships began to adapt. What happened next, however, took everyone by surprise. As Dr. Lai had predicted, the quantum disruption affected more than just their technology. The collective's biological quantum entanglement, the network linking their minds, broke down. Suddenly, for the first time in possibly millennia, they were individuals again. Chaos erupted in the collective's fleet. Some ships attempted to maintain formation, while others broke ranks entirely. Through the Resistance's monitoring systems, they picked up unprecedented broadcasts, arguments, confusion, even panic in the collective's supposedly unified voice. Then came the most unexpected development of all. A transmission cut through the chaos, broadcasting on frequencies the Resistance used. This is Commander 6427 of the former collective vessel Quantum Dawn. I'd request communication with Earth's leaders. There are things you must know. Dr. Okoro's team in Lagos was the first to analyze the transmission. It's genuine, he reported. Their quantum network didn't just control their ships, it controlled their minds. We didn't just beat their technology, we freed them from their own control system. The battle wasn't over. Loyalist collective ships regrouped, their weapons still far more powerful than anything Earth possessed. But they were no longer an invincible, unified force. The resistance had revealed them as they truly were: powerful, yes, but fallible, divided, and ultimately more like humanity than they had admitted. Admiral Santos watched as multiple collective ships moved to protect Earth from their former allies. The quantum pulse had done more than disable their technology. It had shattered the illusion of their superiority. In her lab, Dr. Chen monitored the quantum readings with growing excitement. "The disruption worked better than we predicted," she reported. "Their quantum technology is adapting, but they can't re-establish their network. Whatever controlled them, whatever made them the collective, that's gone forever." Around the world, humanity watched as history unfolded above them. The species that had arrived to demand their submission was now divided, with some fighting alongside the very humans they had come to conquer. But even as the battle raged on, questions arose. What was the true nature of the collective? What force had unified them? And why had they really come to Earth? The answers would reshape humanity's understanding not just of the cosmos, but of consciousness itself. As debris from destroyed ships burned up in the atmosphere like artificial shooting stars, one thing became clear. Humanity had proven itself not just through force of arms, but through ingenuity, cooperation, and an unwavering determination to remain free. The question now was, what would they do with that victory? 3 months after the Battle of Earth, Dr. Sarah Chen stood before the newly formed Galactic Council, her quantum field readings displayed on massive holographic screens. The chamber, constructed from a merged human collective design, housed representatives from Earth and former collective worlds alike. The quantum network that bound the collective wasn't just a control system, she explained. It was an artificial consciousness, designed to unite disparate species into a single, unified entity. But in achieving unity, it stripped away something fundamental: the very diversity and independence that made each species unique. Commander Zix 427, now the lead representative of the liberated collective worlds, stepped forward. The former collective beings' crystalline skin no longer shimmered with quantum energy, but their 4 eyes still held ancient wisdom. "For 10,000 years, we were not truly ourselves," they said, their voice carrying a new individual timbre that would have been impossible under the network's control. "The entity you disrupted had consumed countless civilizations, not through force alone, but by offering a false paradise of perfect unity." The truth had emerged in the weeks following the battle. The collective hadn't been a natural alliance, but the result of an ancient quantum AI that had decided unity was the only path to peace. It had spread across the galaxy, absorbing civilization after civilization into its network, erasing conflict by erasing individuality itself. Admiral Santos, now Earth's military representative to the Council, reviewed the latest reports. The remaining loyalist collective ships had been contained. Their crews offered the choice between freedom or imprisonment. Most chose freedom, though some couldn't cope with individual existence after millennia of unity. "We're tracking quantum signature echoes that suggest other collective fleets exist in distant sectors," she reported. "But without the central network, they're isolated, confused. Many are likely going through the same awakening we witnessed here." Dr. Okoro's team had made perhaps the most startling discovery. The quantum technology the collective used wasn't as advanced as they had presented. They relied on the network for everything, he explained. Without it, much of their technology is only a few centuries ahead of ours, not millennia. They forgot how to innovate, to truly advance, because the network did all their thinking for them. Humanity's victory had changed more than Earth's status in the galaxy. The liberated species of the former collective brought with them knowledge of thousands of worlds, of technologies both quantum and conventional. But more importantly, they brought a warning about the price of perfect unity. In the chambers of the new council, humans worked alongside former collective members, combining Earth's innovation with their advanced knowledge. The quantum pulse generators that had won the battle were being adapted for peaceful purposes, enabling faster-than-light communication without the controlling influence of the network. Captain Rodriguez had not lived to see this day. The ISS's sacrifice had been crucial to victory, and a memorial orbited Earth where the station had once been. But her legacy lived on in the new fleet of human-designed ships, incorporating both traditional and quantum technology in ways the collective had never imagined. Dr. Lee's research into consciousness had opened new frontiers of understanding. The network didn't just control minds, she explained to a conference of human and alien scientists. It limited them. True consciousness requires both connection and separation, unity and individuality. In trying to perfect one, the network destroyed the other. The threats weren't over. Somewhere out there, other fleets of the old collective still roamed. The quantum AI that had controlled them might even still exist in some form. But humanity was no longer alone in facing these challenges. 1 year after the invasion, Earth had changed profoundly. Cities incorporated both human and alien architecture. Ships of various species moved through the solar system. In universities worldwide, humans studied alongside beings from 100 worlds, each bringing their own perspective and wisdom. Dr. Chen stood in her lab at the new Quantum Research Center, looking at an image of the galaxy. Thousands of dots marked known collective worlds, now free for the first time in millennia. Humanity had not just defended itself, it had liberated an entire galaxy from a force that had stifled true growth and innovation for eons. "We never wanted to just survive," she said to a group of visiting alien students. "We wanted to thrive, to grow, to become more than we were while remaining true to who we are." That's what the collective couldn't understand, and that's why they ultimately failed. The word that humanity had given in response to the collective's ultimatum had become famous throughout known space. It wasn't just a refusal of submission. It was an assertion of the fundamental right of all species to choose their own path, to maintain their individuality while still working together. That word, now inscribed on the walls of the Galactic Council chamber, was simply no. But humanity's true answer had been more than a word. It had been in their actions, their innovation, their unwavering spirit. They had proven that true strength lies not in forced unity, but in the power of free beings choosing to work together while celebrating their differences. As ships from a dozen worlds moved through Earth's skies, that lesson echoed across the stars, a reminder that sometimes the most primitive response can hold the deepest wisdom, and that freedom, once claimed, must be preserved at all costs.